Alright, this is Ready to Learn Journal 9 by me, Omar Guerrero. And this chapter was about providing time to read, when, where, and how. Alright, so providing a time to read. So this chapter starts with by saying how students that are assigned reading at home usually do not complete it. And also, there's many teachers do not offer time to read during class, and it's a complicated process, to ask a student to go home and read what they read and then understand and then come back to class the next day, and it usually does not work. So, well, going back. The way I would provide it would probably be during class. And for music, I think it is really important to read about a piece that you're performing, either if it's a solo or it's a well, I prefer knowing what the song is about and who wrote it and all that. Especially with choir pieces, you really have to bring out the emotion, and in band, it's the same in band, but just with choir, it's very, you know, it is, I guess, the most intimate. The voice is the most intimate instrument of them all, and and that's how I would use class time to read, before either give them something to read about the piece or me read it out loud, and maybe have a time to discuss after. Well, actually, really have a class time to discuss after. And so the chapter talks about what a teacher should be doing when there's a silent reading going on, when the class is reading by them independently in the class. And so it says the teacher should be active monitoring, circulating the class. And another thing is to stop in order to provide help, uh, which include hints. And another one of the things I liked is praise and a visible sign, and teachers should have a visible sign of where the students are comprehending the content. So I remember, some teachers would just, tell you like, okay, go read these pages, and they would just go and sit down at their desk and look at their computer till the time was up. And there's just some, with reading is usually, built up on top of each other, so we didn't comprehend the introduction. I mean, it's hard to know what you're going on to next. So I feel like the teacher really has to be monitoring the class, and providing hints is always good help, and providing praise also, I think, helps a lot the students. And so reading in groups. Oops, let me try. So the first one is it with the buddy system, and it's reading with a partner. So, and I like to call it the buddy system. So it keeps students actively engaged and gives teachers a chance to be creative when pairing. So, you know, reading with a partner really just helps you focus better than when you are in a group. And I think this can really help whenever you can pair a good reader with a poor reader, and let let the poor reader, learn from the good reader. And in group readings, it's usually an employed reading. There's usually an employed reading guide, which is used as a focus of the group activity. But with that, there are several disadvantages, and those include some students read at different levels, and the least able reader will be ignored, or he or she will hold back the group. And also, usually, there is a disproportionate share of the load in the cooperative setting, so one student will probably be doing most of it. And yeah, the poor reader is usually just ignored because, he's probably a little slower and the other readers will catch on much faster. And lastly is the round robin difficulties, and I was pretty surprised to read this because a lot of teachers do it. Even right now in college, I have certain teachers that do this, and I've always thought it was not the best way to read, and now I have solid evidence of why. And so the book states that it is unfair to everyone and it's deadly dull for good readers. And I remember for me, it was a source of terror because my oral reading skills were not so good because of English being my second language. And it encourages inattentiveness, well, unless it is almost your turn. And then it delays the completion of content literacy guides. And lastly, the reader is mostly focused in reading understandably, rather than reading for himself, to understand. Usually the one that's reading out loud is just, focusing on pronouncing everything correctly and things like that. And yeah, I really disagree with round robin difficulties now. So yeah, this chapter was really